A long, long time ago, one of our ancestors, whose name was Chinmakan, received some advice from the great chief. The great chief told him that the land was going to flood and almost all the mountains would be covered with the water except in Sakht. The great chief gave Chinmakan some instruction: bind together all of the cedar bark and these willow saplings into a long rope and anchor it onto the top of the Sakht mountain. Although he could not see the great chief, Chinmakan believed the advice that he received from him. His brother Chinmakan began to question what he was doing. "Why don't you make the rope out of animal hide?" And Chinmakan looked at his brother and replied, "I have been given my orders from the great chief. When the flood comes, my canoe will float over to Nchak's mountain and I will anchor onto the peak." The brother Chinmakan made a rope out of a deer hide, and Chinmakan made a rope out of cedar bark, as the great chief instructed. It began to rain, a great and continuous rain on the lands. The lakes and rivers began to overflow their banks and flood the surrounding country. And Chinmakan and his family took refuge in his canoe. When the people saw the water rise above the ordinary high water mark, they became afraid. When they saw that they would probably drown, they begged their brothers to save their children rather than themselves. And Chinmakan's canoe was too small to hold all the children, so Chinmakan took one child from each family, a male from one, a female from the next, and so on. The rain continued falling and the water rose until all of the land was submerged except the peak of the high mountain called the Nchak. And Chinmakan was so named because it was split like a crutch. And Chinmakan told his brother to anchor to Nchak. They both fastened their ropes to Nchak's mountain. It is not known how long the people are anchored to the mountain peak, but Chinmakan's brother's rope, which was made from animal hides, stretched on it until it broke. This raft floated away because the water was moving so fast. Eventually the water receded and Chinmakan's raft floated down until it was grounded on the sloping area of the mountain. Each stage of the water sinking left marks on the side of the mountain. When the ground was dry again, the people settled on the land that is opposite the present site of Pemberton. And Chinmakan settled in the valley with his wives and children and began to live off the land. The people who survived on Chinmakan's canoe spread out through the valley and settled in places that were rich with food. They settled in Green Lake, Anderson Lake, Seaton Lake, Little Lillooet Lake, and along the lower Lillooet River. This was the country peopled by the offsprings of Chinmakan and survivors of the Great Flood.